What's up everybody, welcome back to a brand new video on Lex Alexas. Today it is the Championship Transfer Show. So yesterday I covered the latest transfers involving Championship clubs to a Premier League club. We're now going to talk about the latest signings that I've not covered in yesterday's transfer show. So I think this is the bulk of the transfer news that you guys want to see. The rumours are back as well. We've got a couple of rumours, not as many as I normally do, but we do have a couple of rumours that I will throw at you guys, and I'll be interested to hear your opinion on all of them there. But yeah, it's a bit of a recap this to get through all the transfers, to see what sort of madness has been going on this whole week since my last transfer video on the Championship. So it's going to feel really interesting and very exciting because the season just ticks ever closer now. If you guys like what you see, please give the video a like. It just tremendous out the channel. Please do hit the subscribe button if you've not done so. It really helps the growth of this channel. And please also share the channel as well. All of that really helps the growth of this channel. But without any further ado, let's start talking about the latest transfers in the Championship. So one outgoing I'll talk about first is Reece James. He has left Blackpool to join Sheffield Wednesday on loan. Doesn't really surprise me, I've got to be honest. He had glimpses, but he didn't really shine, with Blackpool, unfortunately. And I think him getting the move back to League One is going to be very sensible. And I think Sheffield Wednesday, there's not many better teams that I think he could have gone to than Sheffield Wednesday, because I think they are one of the favourites to get out of League One. And I think Reece James would definitely appreciate the challenge as well, with the high pressures as well. And I think that is what Reece James needs to do to get onto his game a little bit. Another signing, which is very interesting, is Josh Cullen. Now, I didn't even realise he was at Anderlecht. So it makes sense for Vincent Kompany to get an Anderlecht player to the Championship. He is Irish and a centre midfielder as well, for a fee of £2.7 million. So Burnley are now starting to flex their budget just a tiny little bit more now. And I do think the signings they're making are really good at the moment. They've got a couple of good defenders, maybe inexperienced, yes, but high potential. And Josh Cullen, again, very young player too. I believe he's mid-20s as well. He's still got the likes of Maxwell Cornet and Dwight McNeil, which I'm quite surprised actually that both of them have not been moving away personally. But if they both stay at the club, they could really rip the Championship apart next year. So I'm kind of wanting them to stay, but at the same time, my head is telling me that eventually they'll get a good move to the Premier League somewhere. So we'll see if they stay around with Burnley, but it'll be a great bit of business. If one, they can keep them in, and with the current business that company's doing, I think he's doing a pretty good job so far. Another signing that happened yesterday out of recording this video is Sheyi Ojo. He has returned to Cardiff City. Now, his loan spells from Liverpool to Cardiff and Millwall couldn't have been any different. In Cardiff, 2 seasons ago, in the 2021 season actually, he made 40 appearances and was a big part of Cardiff having an alright season all in all. But then with Millwall, he barely cracked 15 appearances. He was not on the squad for a lot of it, he was on the bench for a lot of it, especially in terms of the new year. Sheyi Ojo, I think, only played for 3 other games. And that is a joke, really. Sheyi Ojo, we know what he can do, being a wide-sided player. He can play as a full-back, a wing-back. He's got a variety of positions. It's just only going to be Steve Morison who's going to be the difference. Is he going to be a good enough manager to make all those new transfers? Because I think it's 10 signings now that Cardiff have made. Are they going to gel in time? And that is going to be Steve Morison's biggest test going into next season. Although we say Cardiff scores pretty big, they have lost a player as well. James Collins has gone down to League One to join Derby County, he was their 9th signing for Derby County there. Unfortunately for James Collins, it never really worked out. The pressure was on him really, in the second half of the previous season, we were getting some emerging competition for the striker position. Adebayo was really starting to buzz onto the scene for Luton at that time. And unfortunately, I think the competition has caught up to James Connors a little bit. And he did have a really good season, James Connors, when Luton were first promoted to the Championship. But maybe the pressure's now got to him and now he needs to try and reevaluate his form and try and get some momentum back. And maybe going back down to League One might be a good way to do it. And I think Derby would definitely give him a lot of service. I think they'll definitely look up to James Connors being a pretty important player in that squad. We've had a couple of loan signings recently from very young players as well. Two examples being Callum Doyle joining Coventry City. I think that's a very decent signing there. He was on loan to Sunderland last year, so he played a really big part in Sunderland's promotion to the Championship. And then another loan signing from a top club as well is from Nottingham Forest. Coventry have made 2 loan signings and 2 defensive signings as well. So Coventry, who were looking pretty slow at their transfer window, you know, when they got Casey Palmer, they had a good 2-3 week period where they had not signed anyone. And then all of a sudden, they make 2 signings within 2 days. So I think Coventry now are starting to get the deal sorted. And I think it's 2 very interesting options. Panzo, you know, has been one who's actually gone to France, to another country, to get some minutes there. So potentially he'll be very well nurtured and experienced there. So I think they're decent options actually for Coventry. Whether going to be they're good starting players, I'm not necessarily going to believe that straight away. But when you give them the time and they actually can be great squad players, I think that's really going to improve the squad more than anything. And I think that's a good bit of business by Coventry. He's not a signing for the first team, but I thought I might mention it. Carl Hudlin, a lot of people joke about this guy being the new Peter Crouch. He's 6'9" tall. I mean, he would definitely make me look like an Oompa Loompa, I'll tell you that. But he has joined Huddersfield, but in their B teams. And it surprises me that he's as young as he is, actually. But there could be a very small chance that Carl Hudlin may make an appearance for the senior team later on this season if he manages to impress the academy there. So we could potentially see Carl Hudlin playing the Championship for real. So this is going to be very, very intriguing to see how he's going to perform in the long term there. He was a really good player for Solihull Moles for when he was there for 2 seasons. So I'm excited to see how he's going to thrive from this step up. So I'm intrigued to see how he gets on. Hull have made a couple of signings recently. Alahar has been a good signing there. They actually got it for the second half of last season on the loan. They've now got him permanently for 4.5 million. And another signing they made was Oscar Estupinian. Is that how he say his name? I don't know. But he's from Portugal and he is a centre forward on a free transfer. Hull are quietly going above their business. I spoke about this when I had my video with Matt. But I think Hull are slowly going their way, improving their squad. And I think they will be a dark horse for next season personally. So I definitely think Hull are a team you should really keep your eyes on. I think they may surprise some people. A great signing for Millwall is getting Benik Afobe permanently now. They got him on loan for last season. And to be fair, I think it was actually one of his better seasons, you know, in a Championship club since his Wolverhampton Wanderers days. So I definitely think Millwall have made a great decision to get him in permanently, you know, so they don't have to rely on Stoke on more loan deals anymore. They got him permanently now. And I definitely think he's a really good striker option. I just personally think he links up very well with the Millwall way, you know, being pretty static and being able to try and muscle your way through the defence. I actually think Benik Afobe really thrives off that game style. So I'm excited to see how Millwall are going to perform, because I definitely think there was a bit of nervousness, you know, to see if they can get a striker like Benik Afobe back or if they can get him back again. But now they have got him back again and permanently as well. It does seem some really good business for Millwall there. A couple more transfers to talk about. Joe Rafferty has left Preston to join Portsmouth on a free transfer. Tyrese Fornat, that's how you say his name. He has joined Reading from Nottingham Forest on a loan deal. So Nottingham Forest letting a couple of their players go out on Championship in loan deals. And Fornat is another one of those players there. I believe he's a centre midfielder, which I've been crying for Reading to try and get for quite some time. For that, they lost John Swift and Josh Lauren. They needed some replacement in the midfield position, and potentially Fornat will be a good short-term option for that. Ciaran Clark has signed for Sheffield United. I think a decent signing. I spoke about Ciaran Clark. I think it was my first transfer show actually, so it was quite a while back. But Sheffield United have made 3 defensive signings to start the window, so it's definitely looking like to me that they're going to start from defence and work their way up again. Maybe a bit slow in the business, but in the quality of players that they got in, I actually think is a good mix. You've got some with international experience, you've got one with Premier League experience, and you've got one young upcoming player there. So I think they've got a great variety there for Sheffield United. Joe Allen has returned to Swansea City. I think he has a good number of years with Stoke, but it almost felt inevitable if Joe Allen was going to go near the end of his career, he'd return back to Wales. And I actually think that'll be very interesting to see how he thrives with the high intensity of Russell Martin. Don't necessarily think he will suit it so much, but I definitely think he will be an important player when needed. I think his leadership skills is really going to be the biggest gift that Swansea are going to get from getting him back. Jack Clarke has joined Sunderland. Great signing, I think, for me. Sunderland, I was already explained about Callum Doyle getting players from Premier League clubs and youthful Premier League clubs and actually helping them. But Jack Clarke, this is not a loan deal. This is actually a permanent transfer on a free. So it's a really, really good signing for me. Obviously, you may remember him for what he did with Leeds United. He did a really, really good job there. And I think Sunderland will definitely get the best out of him. And finally, another transfer with Watford this time is Ray Minaj. Now, it's not Nicki Minaj, it's Ray Minaj. It's probably not how you pronounce his surname there. But he's left Barcelona to join Watford on a fee of around £2.25 million. I mean, with the debt that Barcelona have got, they'll take any sort of fee in millions right now to try and cover it. Watford, they made a couple of transfers from Barcelona in the past before. Theo being a really good example of that, actually. So it looks like the links between them and Barcelona have not ended yet. Now, this Minaj guy actually played in Serie A last year on loan on Spezia, and the ownership, as you know, partly owned Watford and Udinese, so likely they would have seen a player when they were around in Udinese at the time. So that's potentially the link coming from there, and I actually think it's a decent signing for Watford. Maybe a bit unproven, but I'm always excited to see these unknown players, especially those advanced centre-forward players, to see how they thrive in the Championship. So guys, these are the latest transfers. So if I missed anyone out, please do let me know in the comments down below. Now I've only got a couple of rumours left to talk about to you guys. Let's go. Let's speak about these rumours. So the first rumour to talk about is on Maxwell Cornet and Emmanuel Dennis. Now, Newcastle want another forward-thinking player in, like a winger or a striker. Maxwell Cornet was the number one target for Newcastle at one stage, but it looks like Emmanuel Dennis has now actually taken over as the number one target. So it's going to be interesting with Burnley and Watford right now, because Burnley and Watford, I think, are going to be right up there in terms of the Championship. But if any one of them lose one of their big players, in fact, I think both Cornet and Dennis, respectively, have given their team the most goal contributions in their Premier League seasons, respectively. So right now, it'll be a big blow if any one of them lose one of those players each. And Newcastle will be sniffing around for more transfers as they try and build up the table and try and get some momentum with their new ownership. So that is going to be a very interesting saga. Emmanuel Dennis probably more likely to leave, but it'll be interesting to see if Maxwell Cornet has any second thoughts. Now, Jared Branthwaite is one I'm really interested in. He's been linked with so many clubs: Huddersfield, Cardiff, Sheffield United, Blackpool, Middlesbrough, Schalke. But apparently PSV are now the favourites to sign in. So Branthwaite obviously has had Championship experience before when he was at Blackburn Rovers. He was in Everton for most of last season. I mean, right now, I think Everton are going to be very careful right now with the players that they lost. Richarlison being one key example. If they keep losing those players, then I think it's going to be a very, very difficult season for Everton. And Branthwaite, while he may not start every game at the back line, he could be a very vital player, especially if some of Everton's back line go into the World Cup, for instance, like a Michael Keane. If he gets injured, then who they're going to have to replace him? A Godfrey? Godfrey was injured most of last season as well. So definitely I feel like Everton are going to be very careful about squad depth right now. And I definitely think they can't just give away these quality players like that. Burnley are looking like they're going to sign Ian Maatsen from Chelsea. I would not be surprised, to be honest. Unfortunately, right now, we seem to be very ruthless at getting rid of our defenders right now. And I actually think Chelsea have made some great developments with their back line, which I'm impressed with. But the season is very, very close, and I am not liking the lack of depth in our midfield, and I'm really not seeing where we're going to get goals. So it's a bit tricky seeing my club being like this in the moment. I've got to accept that, maybe it's not going to be smooth sailing next year. But with Ian Maatsen to Burnley, I think that'll be a brilliant signing. He was linked to Nottingham Forest, and I think another fullback for Forest, it would be fullback overkill for them. So Burnley makes sense for me, and especially in that left-hand side when we're looking at the likes of Eric Peters retire as well, and to give Taylor some competition in that position as well. I think that's a really good move if Burnley can pull this off. One penultimate transfer is John Ruddy. Now, I said that he would link with Alex Neil with Sunderland, but it looks like he may be a Birmingham City player come when this video comes out. It's always the risk with rumours. When I talk about rumour, it may have already been announced by this time this video comes out, and especially when I'm recording these videos a day earlier than normal now, so a lot of this could feel very outdated, and if it does, I do apologise. But from what I've seen in reports, John Ruddy's looking like he has been linking up with Birmingham, and I've got to say, out of all the goalkeepers Birmingham could have gone for, I actually think that's not a bad option, to be honest. I actually think that's quite decent. It's just a shame that I've not really cherry picked, in terms of that quality in other areas of the pitch, really. Finally, one more room I want to talk about is on Zach Steffen. Now, I've not talked about Zach Steffen a lot, to be honest, because he's been linked with a couple of Premier League clubs. Championship clubs have been a bit quiet on him, but it does look like Middlesbrough are now starting to look like a really good proposition for Zach Steffen there. And apparently he is undergoing a medical, according to a couple of reports. So if he is a new goalkeeper and will sign for Middlesbrough, I actually think that does increase the quality of their goalkeepers. I've been called out a couple of times before for me forgetting that they've actually made some goalkeeping signings. But I'm sorry, but the signings that they made to get Roberts in and then Daniels, I don't think that's a good enough goalkeeping, squad to get a promotion-winning team. But with someone like Zach Steffen, who's had experience with Manchester City in competitions, I actually think that does tick the box of a promotion-winning team. So I definitely think if Middlesbrough can pull this off, great signing for me. So guys, this is the transfer show done. If I've missed any transfers, as I said, let me know in the comments down below. I'll definitely talk about them in the next show. Let me know, guys, how you think your club is doing in the transfer window as well. I'll be very interested to know in the comments down below. But guys, that will wrap it up for today. If you guys enjoyed it, please give the video a like. It does tremendously help the channel. Please do hit the subscribe button if you've not done so. It does really help the channel. And please also share the channel too. That really helps as well. But thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary. If it's still the end of this video. And as always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.